Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam, and I am the CleanBC Community Energy Coach. Our program supports communities, local governments, and industry stakeholders in the promotion of the CleanBC rebate programs, as well as the education of heat pumps. We're also joined today by my colleague, Elena, who will be presenting for you. This webinar is being recorded, and all rebate amounts are reflective of what is available today, October 19th, 2021. For the most up-to-date information on rebates, please visit betterhomesbc.ca. We also have Sarah Maleska, the Sustainability Program Specialist at the Township of Langley in the audience today to help answer any township-specific questions that may come in. I definitely encourage everyone to use the chat throughout the webinar. I'll be monitoring and doing my best to answer your questions along the way. And we will also have a short Q&A period at the end of the presentation. We would also like to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and WSÁNEĆ peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting here today, as well as the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ, whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. And I definitely would like to invite everyone to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory you are joining us on today as well. And with that, I'll pass things off to my colleague, Elena.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy days and evenings to learn more about heat pumps. So I'm very excited. My name is Elena, and I hope I can teach you a lot about heat pumps today. So we're covering a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So I will get started by explaining more about heat pumps, how they work, what kind of types are the most common here in BC. I will share with you why we get so excited about heat pumps, all the benefits, and I will also share tips for with you about how to, things to know before you buy a heat pump and things to know once you've bought a heat pump. Then I will tell you a little bit about some experience of people who have installed a heat pump, and of course, we will get into detail about the rebate programs today. As Sam mentioned, for all those who just joined, the rebates that we are discussing today are the current rebates that are available today to this day, and I will share with you some resources where you can find more information about rebates once you are planning to get a heat pump. Okay. Then, first of all, before I jump into the heat pumps, I want to share a little bit about this really important approach, the house as a system approach. So before you even consider any new heating system, not just a heat pump, it is very important to understand that your house is made up of out of components that are all interacting with each other. So once you're planning an upgrade like a heating system upgrade, it's important to first address your building envelope. So that is your windows, your walls, the airtightness of your home, because you want to make sure that your home is well insulated, nice and airtight before you get a new heating system installed. Otherwise, you can install the best heating system in the world. You would still lose a lot of that heat through the walls, the windows, the attic. So what we recommend before doing any heating system upgrade or any other energy efficiency related upgrade in your home is to get started with an EnerGuide home evaluation. So that is an unbiased energy assessment of your home, where an energy advisor creates an energy model of your home and provides you with a report with recommended upgrades that you should prioritize before getting, for example, a heat pump installed. I will go into detail about the EnerGuide evaluations later, but without further ado, let's jump into the heat pump topic. So heat pump is basically an electric heating system that can not only heat your home, but also cool it in the summer. It's important to note that heat pumps are actually the most energy efficient heating system you can currently get worldwide. They are about 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as the newest natural gas furnace or as electric baseboards or an electric furnace. Also, in BC, we're very fortunate that we get our electricity almost completely from hydroelectricity. So in BC, that makes a heat pump also the most climate-friendly heating system. But in fact, I actually think that most of you do have a type of heat pump at home. And I really like to explain how a heat pump works by using the refrigerator as an example. So a heat pump is really just like a refrigerator is really just a heat pump inside an insulated box. So in your refrigerator, you will find these refrigerant lines that give it the name and a compressor somewhere in your refrigerator. So inside here, this refrigerant will absorb heat energy from the inside of your fridge and transfer it through a compressor where it's pumped up to a higher temperature level and then released to the inside of your home. So it moves heat from one place to another, and by that it is cooling the inside of your fridge. Now, I know we all kind of try to avoid looking at what's behind our fridge, but if you did that, you would notice that there's warm air coming out on the back of your fridge. And that's exactly how a heat pump would work as well. So let's take a closer look. Here we have a type of heat pump. We call it a central system heat pump. Reason is because this is the inside of the home, and this is the indoor unit or the air handler that distributes the heat throughout the house using ductwork. And then you have the outside of the home with an outdoor unit, kind of looks like this cube. And in this outdoor unit, there's the compressor. So let's say it's a cold winter day. Even on a cold winter day, there's still heat energy left in the air. And the refrigerant absorbs that heat energy from the ambient air, has the compressor pump it up to a higher temperature level, and then move it to the inside of the home to that indoor unit to distribute it through ductwork throughout the house. So it basically absorbs heat that's already here, pumps it up to a higher level, and moves it to the inside of your house. On the other hand, let's say it's a very humid, muggy summer day and your home is very hot. So then you can just reverse the cycle from heating to cooling mode by using this thermostat. And then the refrigerant in your home will absorb the heat from your house, move it to the outside where it's pumped up to a higher temperature level and released to the outdoors. So in this case, it removes heat just like in the refrigerator and moves it to a different place. That's what a heat pump makes a heat pump such a genius system. So we can take a look at a little bit of a different heat pump system. We call it a mini split ductless heat pump. In this case, it has its outdoor unit here, and it connects the refrigerant lines to this indoor head that is usually mounted on the top of a wall. So it doesn't require any ductwork in this case. And what it does is it absorbs heat from the ambient air, pumps it to the inside of the home, and releases it. And then it just returns the cycle. So I already touched on the different heat pump types, but there are two types that are most popular in BC, especially Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island. So we got the central system heat pump. As I mentioned, it is a central heating system, just like a gas furnace. I know most of you have a gas furnace at home, and it distributes the air through ductwork throughout the house. And in real life, it looks kind of like this, can also be different color. And we have a special type of central system heat pump. We call it a dual fuel heat pump. So dual fuel heat pump just means that you can use a pre-existing or a new natural gas or propane furnace as a backup heating system. So the heat pump and the furnace get integrated, and at a certain temperature outdoor temperature, it will switch over from the heat pump primarily heating your home to the gas or propane furnace heating your home. So it's really just a backup system. In the lower mainland, so for example in Langley, a fossil fuel backup heating system is not really required. The winters are comparatively mild, and heat pumps can very well function as their own heating system. And most central system heat pumps actually come with an integrated electric backup. So for those who it's very important to get rid of that fossil fuel heating, standalone all electric central system is a really great and feasible option. And of course, the ductless heat pump. So the ductless heat pump has its name because it has a smaller outdoor unit and it doesn't require any ductwork. So it's usually connected through these refrigerant lines to indoor heads that are mounted on the top part of the wall that then provides zonal heating in the home. The ductless heat pump has multiple names, so you might have heard one or the other somewhere. Some are called mini split, typically if it's only one indoor head. Some are called multi-split. That's usually when it's multiple indoor heads installed. Or sometimes you hear the name split system, or in some cases, you can actually install a combination of indoor heads and mini ductwork that's installed in an attic to connect to the odd bedroom or in a crawl space. And some split systems actually have mini ducts throughout the house. So there's many different versions of a heat pump that can fit your home's needs. Just to compare the two real quick, of course, both types of heat pumps, ductless or central system, do provide air conditioning and heating. Only the ductless heat pump is able to provide zonal heating. So that means that you heat one part of the home to a different temperature level than another. And of course, the central system is the only one that requires the ductwork. So that makes a mini split heat pump a really great option for those homes that don't have any pre-existing ductwork, mobile homes or smaller homes with a open concept layout, homes that only have electric baseboards or wood heating system. And of course, those homes that have very, very old ductwork that's in rough shape that can't really be used anymore. Yeah, so there's many different options, but of course, if you do have a pre-existing furnace with ductwork that is in great shape and you like that central form of heat, then a central system is a really great option for you. Lastly, heat pumps actually do have very effective air filtration and dehumidification, so I will get into that a little bit more later. Okay, now what we're going to talk about is cost, a very, very popular question. And it is a little bit of a tougher question to answer because tons of people ask, well, how much does a heat pump cost? At least give me a ballpark. It is very hard to give a ballpark, and any contractor that you will ask will say, well, it highly depends. The cost of a heat pump highly depends on the size, layout of your home, the heating infrastructure that's already there, and your personal needs. So what we have here is a very rough comparison. And the data for the heat pump cost that we have here is from an older rebate program that ended in 2018. It was called the Oil to Heat Pump program. And we got a very, very large cost range out of this data. The thing is just that some of those heat pumps from that program started at about $4,000. And then there were heat pumps that ranged well over $20,000. So you can see that the range is extremely broad. So it's hard to give a ballpark number. So what we are showing here is the higher end of the average cost range of a heat pump. So you see $12,000 here, but it could be a lot less for your home. It could also be a lot more for your home. So please take that into consideration when you look at those numbers. But what you also see is that the cost is very comparable to the cost of a gas furnace after rebates. Here you see that the rebate is basically $3,000, which was the case until very recently. At the moment, BC Hydro tops it up with another chunk of money. We'll get into detail about that, but at the moment, this cost here, it would be really $6,000 with this rebate. So very comparable to a natural gas furnace. The rebates are really, really great at the moment. All right, but let's get into the benefits a little bit more because heat pumps have a lot of benefits. To summarize it, there's that year-round comfort with heating and cooling. You get a more climate-friendly home. You get the most efficient heating system that you can possibly get. Your home is healthier with the air filtration. And for those of you who heat with natural gas or oil at the moment, you won't pay carbon tax on your energy bills. What about the efficiency? So some people say, well, how is it possible that the heat pump is 300 or 400% efficient? Well, the reason for that is that heat pumps function a little bit different than other conventional heating systems. So a gas furnace, for example, will burn natural gas to basically create heat from scratch. Same with electric baseboards. It will use electricity to create heat energy or transform to heat energy. What a heat pump does, if you have the outdoors here and the indoors here, is the heat pump, instead of creating heat from scratch, so to speak, will absorb heat that's already available in the ambient air, and it will only add some extra electricity that you have to pay for to operate the compressor, for example, to pump it up to a higher temperature level. So your heat output, because it uses heat that you don't pay for that's already there, is higher than your energy input. And that's what makes the heat pump such a genius system compared to other heating systems. I think most of you do heat with natural gas. However, heat pumps are definitely among the electric heating system options the most cost effective because compared to electric baseboards or an electric furnace that has an efficiency of 100%, which is really good, heat pumps have an efficiency of about 300 to 400%. So you don't really have to be as scared of the electric heating because heat pumps use electricity very, very efficiently, much more efficiently than conventional electric heating systems. And for most of us, it is very important to also contribute to climate change mitigation. And heat pumps are the most climate-friendly heating and cooling option in BC. So we have a little picture here that is from a publication from the Capital Regional District here in Vancouver Island, where Sam and I are. So what you see is a house that was modeled with 3 different heating systems, the same type of house, once with oil heating, natural gas heating, and then with a heat pump. So obviously it's not really a big secret that oil heating is very carbon intensive, but even compared to that, a home with a natural gas heating system still has significant greenhouse gas emissions. And because we are so lucky here in BC and have so much hydroelectricity, compared to that, a heat pump is way less carbon intensive. So by installing a heat pump in your home, you are contributing a lot to decreasing the greenhouse gas emissions in BC. I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, your heat pump can actually filter the air in your home, get you a healthier home. So it provides air filtration and humidity control that can help rid your home of indoor pollutants, dust, pollen, allergens. So if you have any people at home who suffer from allergies, a heat pump can really help with that. And I gotta say, unfortunately, wildfires in the summer just become a normal thing these days. And then in the next few years, So that will really help with battling the forest fire smoke in your home. I will talk about the easiness of using heat pumps a little bit later when I share the operating tips with you, but heat pumps are a very low maintenance kind of heating system. In fact, it's easiest to just set the thermostat to your temperature level and forget about it. I will explain why that is a little bit later. And of course, this is zonal heating is only true for mini split ductless heat pumps. So for those of you who have basement suites, rental suites, and they want to be able to heat the basement at a different temperature than the main house, or you just have rooms that you want to heat differently than others, then zonal heating is really your solution. And with mini split heat pumps, that is possible because you can install multiple indoor heads in different rooms. Also, for a lot of people, it's very important to get their home ready for the future. So we have this couple here from Saanich on Vancouver Island who, for them, it was important to live in a home that is more climate change resilient and also ready for the future. So they installed solar panels on their roof. They have an electric vehicle and they are proud owners of a heat pump. I believe they replaced an oil heating system. So for them, it was important that you could not only see the energy efficiency and renewable energies in their home, but that you can also have that climate friendly heating. And I don't think a lot of you do heat with wood or rely on wood heating. However, if there are some on this webinar or are watching this, then just know that with a mini split heat pump, for example, it's a really great alternative to heating with wood. For example, here's this gentleman who lives in Saanich, and he had relied on wood heating basically his whole life and decided that he is sick and tired of cutting wood and hauling wood into his home. He got a ductless mini split heat pump installed. So you see the indoor head on the top of the wall. And now he is enjoying wood just for ambience every once in a while. Okay, I'm going to pause here 1 second. So I hope that you are convinced that heat pumps are a great system. If you are considering getting a heat pump, there's some things that you should definitely know before you buy a heat pump. First and foremost, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to make a very informed decision about choosing an installer. We always recommend to avoid buying heat pumps wholesale or online and to really put in the work and choosing a qualified installer. So there's multiple ways how you can find a heat pump installer. We definitely recommend to get multiple quotes. We will share the link to our website where you can find registered contractors. And then a really great way is to ask friends and family, coworkers who had a heat pump installed if they were happy with their installer, if they would choose them again, and contact those. Word of mouth is very strong. The Better Business Bureau is a great place, and it's just very important to ask a lot of questions. Do you specialize in carrying heat pumps? Do you have any testimonials? How knowledgeable are you about the rebates out there at the moment? Do you provide heat load calculations for the home? How do you make sure the heat pump is sized for the home? And of course, comparing availability and of course, the cost of the heat pump. The second tip that we have is the one that I mentioned at the very beginning, and that is getting your home checked before you get a heat pump installed. There is one rebate program that requires that Energat home evaluation, but at the moment, it's the best time to get an Energat home evaluation because the rebates are so good that in many cases, you can offset the whole cost of the evaluation. So get your evaluation checked in an unbiased way. You know that you have to get some windows replaced or upgrade your insulation, and that will really help you cut the cost of heating altogether to address those building envelope issues first. And of course, make sure that you select a heat pump that is properly sized for your home. That again goes hand in hand with asking your contractor some important questions. A heat pump that is designed for your climate and that accounts for supplementary heating systems. So for instance, I mentioned that in the lower mainland, it's warm enough in the winter to really go with an all-electric system. However, if wherever you are, you experience a lot of power outages, maybe you want to have some electric baseboard backups or a gas fireplace or an electric fireplace. So talk to your contractor about those backup options. So once you have decided to get a heat pump, here are some things that you should know how to operate your heat pump, because we have learned so far that heat pumps are not unlike other heating systems, they function a bit different. So here's how you operate it. The first tip that we have is the set it and forget it principle. So a heat pump is very low maintenance because instead of burning a fuel like a natural gas furnace does, and then having those intermittent blasts of hot air into your home, what a heat pump does is it actually takes quite a while to get up to a certain temperature level. So it will absorb heat, the refrigerant absorbs heat, and then has to go through the compressor and get pumped up to a higher temperature level, and then get moved into your home. Once it is at that level, it runs very efficiently and very continuously smoothly. So it is very important that you don't fiddle around with a heat pump a lot. Some contractors don't train homeowners in how to operate their heat pump. So that's another good question for your contractor. But it's best to set your temperature level on your thermostat to your preferred level and then really leave it at that, because that's how your heat pump will run the most efficiently, the most smoothly. So you can obviously set it up, turn up and down a few degrees, but don't just shut your heat pump off when you leave the house and then come back and turn it back on. A lot of people actually think they're going to do something good by turning the heat pump off altogether for a while and turning it back on, and they would save even more electricity. But that's not true, because the heat pump takes a while to get to a temperature level, but once it's there, it's the most efficient. So just leave the heat pump where it is, ideally. And operating tip number 2 has to do with the first one. So I know a lot of people here have a natural gas furnace. So you are probably used to those intermittent blasts of hot air. So the air that comes out of the vents feels pretty warm. Heat pumps, because they run more continuously rather than intermittently, the air that comes out of the vent can feel comparatively lower than the hot intermittent blasts of air. That doesn't mean that your heat pump can't heat your home to the same temperature level. If you set the thermostat to 21, 22 degrees, it will of course get your home that warm. But if you're used to those intermittent blasts of hot air, you might find the air that's coming out of those vents a little bit cooler in comparison. And in that transition period, you might want to set the thermostat to your comfort level, so maybe a degree or 2 higher. Some other operating tips are just maintenance considerations. So I mentioned that heat pumps are very low maintenance, so regularly check the manufacturer's manual. Even though none of us really like to check manuals, just do it in the beginning, and then clean the indoor filters of dust and pollen. And especially after forest fire season, you might want to clean the filters. And of course, self-explanatory, in a mini split heat pump, check the batteries in that remote control that you control it with if necessary. Then before, after spring and in the fall, you definitely want to check your outdoor unit of any debris, leaves, snow, and dirt. Just make sure that not too many things get in there. And every year you want to contact your installer for a servicing appointment. So that's another question you can ask your contractor right in the beginning. Do you just schedule those service appointments annually? You want to make sure that everything's okay with the heat pump, that the refrigerant lines are all fine, and that everything is up to speed. And then, of course, here are some things that will change when you get a heat pump. Since a lot of you have furnaces, I want to mention it again. There are no intermittent blasts of hot air. It's a much more continuous, high efficiency temperature that's being maintained. And you will be able to expect changes to your hydro bill one way or another. So if you are heating with natural gas or oil, then you will see an increase in your hydro bills. Especially if you are also cooling in the summer, then of course, now that you are using a cooling system that you didn't have before, you will see an increase in your hydro bills. However, that is offset by a decrease in your natural gas bills. And since natural gas is a fossil fuel, it is expected to become more and more costly over the years. However, if you have an electric heating system and you switch over to a heat pump, because that heat pump uses so much less electricity, you will be seeing likely a decrease in your electricity bills. And that combined with upgrades to your building envelope to make heat escape less, that will decrease your electricity bills even further. Lastly, outdoor noise. So some people are very concerned about the noise of heat pumps, and heat pump outdoor units do make some noise. However, compared to those really old systems, the newer generation of heat pumps are much, much more quiet. Every heat pump actually comes with a sound rating, a decibel rating. So if noise is something that is of concern for you, highly recommend talking to your installer and asking for the decibel ratings of the heat pump. Also, every municipality comes with their own bylaws. You can't just put a heat pump wherever you want on your property. There are certain regulations in terms of noise. And there's lots of tricks if noise is really a concern to put a heat pump outdoor unit on a rubber mat, for example. Some installers work with hedges, and there's many different options. Actually, the City of Vancouver has a really great heat pumps and noise FAQ pamphlet, basically. So when you get a copy of this presentation, and that is something that's of interest for you, then definitely check out that resource from the City of Vancouver. They debunk a lot of those myths. Whew, okay, that's enough about the heat pumps themselves, but now we're going to get into rebates. Before I do that, I want to say, put a little disclaimer real quick, and that is, first of all, again, the rebates that we are showing you now are the rebates that are available as of today. So if you are watching this recording or rewatching this webinar, then it's definitely a good idea to check if all those rebates are still available, and I will introduce you to that website where you can do that. And secondly, there are a lot of rebates out there, which is the good news. But a lot of rebates come with a lot of information and a lot of different requirements. So I could probably talk about the heat pump rebates until midnight tonight, but I'm sure none of you guys would follow me until then. So I have crammed a lot of rebate information in a very short amount of time. So you will likely find this quite confusing. However, I will introduce the CleanBC Energy Coach service to you, which is an amazing resource where individuals like me can help you navigate the rebate programs and help you with your specific situation and your heating system. So I just want to say that right away. But the website where you can find all this information is called the CleanBC Better Homes website. The web address is betterhomesbc.ca. So that's betterhomesbc.ca. It's at the very end of the presentation again. And this is really an information hub made for British Columbians that is completely unbiased, where people like you can get informed about heat pumps, other energy efficiency upgrades, about the rebates, all in one spot without having to go to 5 different websites. And it's all completely unbiased. That CleanBC Better Homes website comes with the Energy Coach service. And the Energy Coach service, I want to highly recommend to you. So this is a team of energy coaches who are very well trained. They're very, very, very knowledgeable about the rebates out there. They can help you with the typical where to get started steps to introduce you to the information you need for where you're at. And they can help you with all that rebate steps. So the Energy Coach service is available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and they have a toll-free hotline. It's not like your typical 1-800 hotline. There's actually people picking up the phone, and that is 1-844-881-9790. Highly recommend getting in touch with them. And you can also email them at ask@betterhomesbc.ca. So the Better Homes website comes with a rebate search tool. And this is a very handy tool because you can select that you're intending to renovate a home. You can type in your location. So for example, Township of Langley, City of Langley is in there too. And then you indicate how your home is heated. So for example, a gas furnace. Once you hit submit, you get a long list of all kinds of rebates that you could be eligible for. So for example, this central air source heat pump rebate, and when you click on it, then you will get to a summary page that really summarizes absolutely everything you need to know about this rebate. So application steps, heat pump requirements, deadlines, all those things. And if you get stuck, just call an energy coach. So now I want to introduce to you the 2 big programs that include heat pumps at the moment. Currently, there is a federal program called Canada Greener Homes, and there is the provincial CleanBC rebates. So I'm going to get started with the provincial CleanBC rebates. Just a few things. The general eligibility is just that you have to live in an eligible home. So that's a single family home or a side-by-side row home or duplex or mobile home. The rebates that you can get, the amount, is highly dependent on whatever primary space heating system you have. And on the next slides, I will show you the different amounts that are available today for different types of homes. And the heat pump has to become the primary heating system of the home. So you can't just install a heat pump for air conditioning. And the heat pump has to meet certain energy efficiency requirements and has to be found on a qualifying product list. So now I'm going to get started with the different types of heating systems that you can replace and how large the amounts are. Starting with homes that are heated with electricity. So if you live in a home that is heated with electric baseboards or an electric furnace, and you install a mini split heat pump, there's currently a $1,000 rebate. If you install a central system with ductwork throughout the house, it's $2,000. That rebate would come from BC Hydro, and BC Hydro has this minimum electricity consumption tool that you have to use first to check your eligibility. So if you have an electric heating system, you have to go to bchydro.com/hero/eligibility and type in your hydro account number and the square footage of your home, and it tells you if you're eligible. You can also find all that on the rebate search tool on those summary pages. And just keep in mind that if you already have a heat pump and you want to replace it with a new one, that is not possible through the CleanBC rebates. Over to the wood heated homes, if you have a wood heating system, it's $1,000 for a mini split and $2,000 for a central system. If you have a mixture of wood and electricity, use that BC Hydro eligibility tool to find out if you're wood or electrically heated. Okay, and the following will be just for homes that are heated with oil, gas, or propane. So since September 28th, so very recently, BC Hydro announced their electrification plan. And BC Hydro's electrification plan says that for, among many other things, it says that when you are replacing a fossil fuel heating system like natural gas with a heat pump, they top your normal rebate up with an additional $3,000. That's for all heat pumps that are invoiced on or after September 28th. And that looks as follows. So for homes that are heated with a fossil fuel, so oil, gas, or propane, instead of $3,000, now with that BC Hydro top up, you can get $6,000 for mini splits and central system heat pumps. And there are also some different types of heat pumps. So earlier I mentioned the dual fuel ones that use natural gas as a backup. You cannot get that BC Hydro top up if you still use a fossil fuel heating system. So you only get the $3,000. If you go all electric, it's $6,000. And there's also some other types of heat pumps that are a little bit less common, but there's rebates as well. So for example, the air to water heat pump that basically is for in-floor heating or for homes that have radiators, $3,000. And then for homes that have to upgrade their electric service, there is a rebate as well. This is only the case if you're switching from oil, gas, or propane and you have to upgrade your service. There is a $500 rebate for that in conjunction with a heat pump. That was the rebates. So rebates really just means you purchase the heat pump first, you get it installed first, and then you apply for the rebate later. But there is an alternative for that, and that is the low interest financing program. So instead of getting the rebate later, but paying upfront, you can get your rebate, your heat pump financed if you are switching from oil, gas, or propane. And you can basically get a 0% interest rate over 5 years. The loans are between $1,000 and $40,000. And you do have to work with a specific contractor. They're called finance registered contractors because they set you up for the loan. And again, you have to be switching from oil, gas, or propane to do the financing. Also, you can either choose the rebate or the financing option, but not both. And another add-on rebate, you could say, is the group purchase rebate. So the group purchase rebate is basically for people who are getting together as a group. That might be a neighborhood, a community group, or, just a bunch of your friends all getting a heat pump installed around the same time. They're getting together and they are registering as a group or joining a group, and then each member of the group gets an extra rebate on top, depending on the group size. So if you get 4 people together and you all are installing heat pump around the same time and register for this group purchase rebate, then each of you gets an extra $200 on top. You can find more information about the group purchase rebate on betterhomesbc.ca/rebates/GPR. And of course, through the rebate search tool, it pops up in there as well. that was the provincial rebates. So now you're probably wondering, okay, but where do I find a contractor who I can ask all these questions? On the CleanBC Better Homes website, there is a contractor search tool. So you can either find it through this menu button here under Find a Contractor, or directly on betterhomesbc.ca/PRC for Program Registered Contractor. In there, you can just select that you want to install a heat pump and Township of Langley, for example. You hit submit, and then you get a list of contractors that you can contact. However, note that you don't have to work with those contractors for the rebates, but that is a great place to start because those contractors, they went through some rebate program training, some best practice training, so they should be knowledgeable about the requirements. And that brings me to the end of all the provincial rebates. However, I mentioned that there is a federal program as well. So let's talk about that real quick. That launched this year in May. It's called Canada Greener Homes. You might have heard of it. And Canada Greener Homes offers up to $5,000 towards upgrades. That could be all kinds of upgrades, insulation, solar panels, but also heat pumps. Plus, it also offers up to $600 for an Energet home evaluation, because for this program, the Energet home evaluation is a requirement. You have to get your home assessed before you get anything installed and afterwards too, and then you apply for everything at the end. It maxes out at $5,000 plus those $600 for the evaluation. For this program, it's important to note that you as the homeowner would have to live in the home that you own, so it is not available for rental homes. And the good news is you can double dip, so you can get the rebates through the CleanBC provincial rebate program and this Canada Greener Homes grant. However, only for up to 100% of the total cost of your heat pump or whatever upgrade. And I know that this is a lot of information. So what if you wanted to, maximize your rebates? Where do you even get started? So if you want to maximize your rebates, the way to get started is by getting that Energet home evaluation, because it is a requirement for the federal program. You can find energy advisors on the CleanBC Better Homes website through the menu button, but also under betterhomesbc.ca/EA, stands for Energy Advisor. And once you have found an energy advisor who can book you in, basically, you have to register for this Canada Greener Homes grant and register and basically officially request an evaluation. So one thing I want to note, though, is that both programs are totally separate programs, and they have their own set of program requirements and their own set of deadlines. So for example, the CleanBC rebates, they all have a 6 months deadline. So once your heat pump is installed, you have 6 months to apply. Canada Greener Homes doesn't currently have a deadline. You just have to get your pre-retrofit, your upgrades, then your post-retrofit evaluation, and then you apply at the very end. But for the CleanBC program, you apply along the way within 6 months of whatever upgrade you install. So that is a lot of information. That's a lot of requirements to navigate. So for the end of this presentation, I really want to emphasize that there is help out there for you to navigate those programs and to maximize your rebates. And the best way to do that is to contact the CleanBC Energy Coach service. So again, really great, knowledgeable team. Canada Greener Homes also has their own phone number and the world's longest email address that you've probably ever seen. So for any very Canada Greener Homes program specific questions, you can always contact them directly as well. And on the right-hand side, you see the provincial program administration. So that's BC Hydro and FortisBC. They administer those CleanBC rebates, they process those applications. That's basically it. A lot of information. I will keep this slide on. And before we jump into the questions, I do want to thank you very much for your attention and for your curiosity. Thank you for wanting to learn more about heat pumps, which I hope you know a little bit more than before. And a copy of this presentation and the recording will be available for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sam for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie. And I will turn the recording off at this point as well.